Hello, good day viewers. In this tutorial, we are going to walk through all these 8 problems that are related to quadratic inequalities. We have the first one here. You bring the negative outside. Inside, all the signs will change. This becomes x squared. This becomes plus 5x. This becomes negative 6 greater than 0, right? How do we factorize this? We think of two numbers, which when we multiply them together, we get negative 6. But the moment we add the two numbers together, we get positive 5. And the numbers are negative 1 and positive 6, right? Negative 1 and positive 6. Just multiply them together, you shall obtain this. And the moment you add them together, you shall obtain 5. So we can factorize it as negative x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 6 greater than 0. And what will be the roots? Remember that by setting each factor here to be equal to 0, for this one it will be x equal to 1. For this one it will be x equal to negative 6. So these are the roots. If you want to construct the graph of this, you should know that it will cross x-axis at 1 and negative 6. Suppose we have x and y-axis like this. You should locate 1 here, you locate negative 6 somewhere here. Because of this negative sign, you should expect what? An up and down parabola. So it will be like this. So where do we have values of y to be greater than 0? You know, definitely above x-axis. So the solution will be what? From negative 6 down to 1. So the solution would be negative 6 less than x less than 1. This is the solution. And you can also write it in an interval notation as what? X belongs to the set of values from negative 6 way down to positive 1. So this is the solution to the first problem. Let us move on to the second problem. The second problem is also an up and down parabola because of this negative sign. But the inequality is what? Less than or equal to type. So we factor out the negative sign. Inside, all the signs will change. This becomes x squared plus 12x, then plus 11. Then we think of two numbers that we can multiply to get 11. But the moment we add them together, we get 12. And the numbers are 1 and 11. So the negative remain. We have x plus 1, x plus 11 less than or equal to 0. Y-axis, x-axis, you should locate negative 1 and negative 11, right? So if we have negative 1 here, maybe we have negative 11 somewhere here. So you should know that the graph is going to cross these 2 points, and it is an up and down parabola, something like this. So we are talking about less than type. If it is less than type, you should know it is only going to be on these 2 legs, to the left hand side of this leg and to the right hand side of this leg. So how can we obtain the solutions? You should know that it will be from negative infinity down to negative 11, including negative 11 because it is less than or equal to. So we can see that x belongs to a set of values from negative infinity way down to negative 11, including negative 11 union from negative 1 down to what? Positive infinity. So this is the solution to this in an interval notation. Let's move on to the problem number 3. Problem number 3, you should know that this is difference of 2 squares because 1 can be written as 1 squared. So this is difference of 2 squares that can be factorized as x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 1, right? Less than 0. So the roots will be 1 and minus 1. So let us do that. If we have negative 1 here and positive 1 here, because the leading coefficient is positive, it is going to be an up and up parabola. So something like this, right? And the inequality is just less than 0. So where do we have it to be negative? Just within this region, from negative 1 down to 1. We can also write it in an inequality like -1 less than x less than +1, or in an interval notation as x belongs to a set of values from -1 down to 1, excluding -1 and 1 because it is just less than, not less than or equal to. Let's move on to question number 4. How do we factorize this? Think of two numbers you can multiply to get -3, but the moment you add the two numbers together you get -2. I think the numbers are -3 and +1. Multiply this, you get -3. Add them together, you get -2. Yes. So we have x minus 3 and x plus 1 greater or equal to 0. The roots will be what? +3 and -1. The moment you set this to be equal to 0. So x and y axis, let us locate them. +3 here, -1 right here. And because the leading coefficient is positive, then it is going to be an open up parabola. Something like this. And you should know that it is greater than 0, meaning it is positive. So this is where it is positive on these legs. And this one above x-axis. So it is from -infinity down to -1, and from 3 way down to +infinity. X belongs to the set of values from where? From -infinity way down to -1, including -1, union from 3 way down to +infinity. And you can write it in an inequality like x is less than -1, less than or equal to -1, or x greater or equal to 3. Let us move on to problem number 5. Problem number 5, we have x squared plus 4x minus 5 greater than 0. Think of two numbers you can multiply to get -5, but the moment you add them together you get 4. The numbers are -1 and 5. This time this is -5 and this plus this is 4. So we can factorize it as x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 5 greater than 0. And the roots will be what? 1 and -5, right? So let us construct it. We have 1 here and we have -5 here. And the leading coefficient is what? Positive. So we should expect an open up parabola. So it will be like this. Something like this. And it is what? Greater than type. Since it is greater than type, we should expect our solution to be from -infinity down to -5 and from 1 down to +infinity. So we have x belongs to the set of values from -infinity way down to -5 union from 1 down to +infinity, excluding -5 and +1. Now let us move on to question number 6. We have x squared minus 5x minus 6. We have to think of two numbers to multiply in order to get -6. Once you add them together, you get -5, and the numbers are -6 and +1. This time this is -6, and this plus this is -5. So we can factorize it as x minus 6 multiplied by x plus 1 less than 0. So the graph would be like this, and the roots will be 6 here, then -1 here. Because if you set this to be equal to 0, x will be equal to 6, right? And x will be -1 here. So these are the roots. Then because the leading coefficient is +1, right? You should expect it to be an open up. Something like this. And we are talking about less than 0. That is where y is negative. So you should expect it to be below the x-axis. So within -1 down to 6. So the solution will be -1 less than x less than 6. That is from -1 down to 6. Or in an interval notation, you can see that it is the set of values from -1 down to 6, excluding -1 and +6. And second to the last problem, let us factor out negative sign. Inside we have x squared minus 3x minus 10 less than or equal to 0. How do you factorize this? We think of two numbers we can multiply to get -10, and the moment we add the two numbers we get -3, and the numbers are -5 and +2. Yes, multiply this together you get -10, add this together you get -3. So the negative remains. We have x minus 5 x plus 2 less than or equal to 0. Let us graph it quickly. We have y-axis, we have x-axis. What are the roots? Roots will be 5 and -2, right? So we have -2 right here, and we have +5 right here. The leading coefficient is negative, so it is going to be an up and down parabola. So something like this. And because it is less than type, we expect to have values of y to be negative. So this legs from -infinity down to -2, and from 5 way down to +infinity. So let's write the solution. X belongs to the set of values from -infinity way down to -2, including -2, union from 5 is included, way down to +infinity. So this is the solution. Remember that you cover infinity with parentheses, and if the value is included you use square brackets. All right, the last problem here, x squared plus 8x minus 9. Think of two numbers you can multiply to get -9, but the moment you add them together you get 8, so it will be -1 plus 9. Yeah, -1 times 9 is -9, and -1 plus 9 is 8. So we have x minus 1 and x plus 9 greater or equal to 0. So let us graph it. Y-axis, x-axis. We have +1 here. We have -9 here, because if you set this to be equal to 0, x will be equal to 1 and x will be -9 here. And the leading coefficient is positive, so it will be what? Open up parabola. Something like this. It will cross -9 and +1. And the inequality is greater than 0, meaning it is positive. So where is y positive? On this legs above x-axis. So the solution would be x belongs to the set of values from -infinity way down to -9, including -9, union from 1 way down to +infinity. As simple as that. Thank you for watching. Do share to your learning colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more exciting videos. Bye bye.